Hello, I'm Christopher Hellman with National Priorities Project, and the topic of today's budget brief is Homeland Security. March 1st marks the 10th anniversary of the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, which was created in the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attacks in an effort to unify U.S. efforts to head off future acts of terrorism against the United States or its citizens. But not all that the Department of Homeland Security does is related to combating terrorism. For instance, out of its $60 billion annual budget, just over half, or $35 billion, goes towards combating terrorism. The remainder involves the work of dozens of other federal agencies that provide services related to safeguarding the United States. A lot of it is related, for instance, to responding to natural disasters through the Federal Emergency Management Agency or supporting the work of the U.S. Coast Guard through the Department of Transportation. And not all of what is considered to be Homeland Security is done by the Department of Homeland Security. Literally dozens of other federal agencies contribute billions of dollars towards the annual Homeland Security budget. All told, we'll spend about $70 billion on Homeland Security this year. Of that, $35 billion comes from the Department of Homeland Security, and the remainder comes from other federal agencies that make significant contributions. The largest single contribution comes, not surprisingly, from the Department of Defense, which contributes roughly $17 billion annually to Homeland Security. So where does all this money come from? Where does it go? And what does it do? These are important questions, and they're difficult to answer. The Department of Homeland Security only unified portions of what the federal government does. Dozens of other federal agencies contribute to providing Homeland Security, and tracking this money and determining how it's being spent is a difficult task. So difficult, in fact, that Congress, a number of years ago, required the Office of Management and Budget, which submits the annual budget request on behalf of the President, to attempt to bring together all of the funding for Homeland Security in one spot so that we could help track it. But it provides absolutely no detail as to what this money is actually doing. And looking at the individual agency budgets provides very little additional information. What's being counted is another interesting question. For example, in 2004, the Department of Defense contributed just over $7 billion to Homeland Security by its own accounting. The following year, it included $20 billion in its accounting for its contribution to Homeland Security. Was this a dramatic increase in the amount of money that was being spent? Actually, it wasn't. All it was a change in what the Department of Defense considered to be contributing to Homeland Security. So as we look at the amount of money that's been spent since the 9/11 attacks, roughly $790 billion, one has to wonder whether all this money has actually made us more secure. This is an important question, and one that we at the National Priorities Project will be looking at in the coming months.